I started thinking there was nothing they wouldn't do, because you see, for a while it was adopting African children. I mean, that's quite a life decision to make just to have a sort of accessory, isn't it? And now trans children, all trans, all their kids, all the celebrities' kids.
Yeah. Well, that's another issue where, I mean, we've got to get real, isn't it? Trans. I mean, the Supreme Court's biological sex ruling. I mean, think about that. It took them 5 years to get 5 years. These are the greatest legal minds in the country, allegedly.
Yeah.
They took 5 years to basically say, right, we've come to our learned decision after 5 years. We've decided that if you're born, like a kind of woman, with woman's bits, then you're a woman. Wow, thanks. But it was, although there's something inherently ridiculous about that, and that's another fear about this country, that in itself is an example of where Britain has lost what it used to be extremely good at. That was being sensible. We used to have, this country used to have a sense of common sense. It has completely lost that now.
Well, Australia got it wrong. They went the other way.
Yeah. Well, Australia is now like kind of it's a penal colony again. Everybody's getting arrested if you don't preface every sentence with a long homage to the original settlers. Yeah. I don't even think you're allowed to call them Aborigines anymore. They're tying themselves up in knots. So Australia as well. But
they think women have penals.
Yeah, but we've got to get real about that. I mean, this is what everything that. I mean, I am utterly for trans rights. If you're a bloke and you want to put on a dress and say you're a woman, knock yourself out.
I'm glad you say that, because I brought my.
Yeah, whatever makes you happy, live your life in that way. It doesn't, as long as you're not harming anyone else, go for it. But what did they do? They just kept pushing their luck. Why? I put on this dress. I've had some surgery as well, so now I am a woman, aren't I? Well. Nah, not really. I am a woman. No. You are now, while I want to support you, I want you to live your life exactly how you like, and I want you to have full rights. You should have full rights, not trans rights, just rights as a citizen of this country. Don't make me say something that is scientifically untrue. You are now demanding that I speak a lie to support you. This person who used to be Bob, but is now Barbara, is now definitely a woman. Or worse than that, this person who has just said, I now identify as a woman, is a woman. That is fucking crazy. And so they push their luck to that extent, whereas people like me who wanted to give them as many rights as possible, I'm sorry, I'm not going that far. And that's why we ended up with the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court had to make that ruling. And there are still people all over this country, particularly like huge organizations like the NHS, who will not listen to that ruling.
Which is extraordinary. I think you're right. I cannot think of a more mental thing. And some people say, why so often do we all talk about the trans thing? I think it's just the single most obvious example of the kind of mind virus that people seem to be suffering from.
Yeah, and a really, really skillful extremist lobby. Remember, most trans women or trans men, my audience, by the way, get really angry when you even call them that. Yeah, don't call them trans women.
GC ultras, gender critical ultras.
Well, it's just all of them. They just don't call them that. They're blokes in dresses.
Yeah, but you can't really be a news presenter constantly talking about, the blokes in dresses at the Supreme Court. You got to.
Well, I've tried to explain that quite often and said, look, I'm suddenly a shorthand. Don't even say it. But
they should be trans men. A man who thinks he's a woman should be called a trans man.
Yeah, but they wouldn't like that.
No, but he's a man who thinks he's trans.
Here's the deal, though. The last census, I think I've got this right, revealed that I may be slightly inaccurate in the figures, but I'm just about right, I think. There are sort of 270,000 trans people in the entire country. Population. So we have a population of basically 70 million people. And there are 260,000. Then it turned out that the last census, the question about trans was confusing if you were not brilliant at English, which a lot of people a growing number of people in this country aren't very good at. So they downgraded that to, they think there are probably 170,000 trans people. So let's say 165,000 trans people in a population of 70 million. That doesn't mean to say we shouldn't discuss their rights. We shouldn't discuss the issues surrounding them, but wouldn't you say that the amount of discussion that goes on about this 160,000 people is somewhat disproportionate?
Yeah. Well, I think partly because we talk about it on our side, because it's so mental, this idea, even if there are so few of them. I think it's finally putting our foot down to this kind of postmodern academic nonsense. It's finally going, okay, you think you've had us. You're doing all the, truth is not real. Is this table even a table, or is it just a bunch of atoms? That man might be a woman. What? No, hang on. No. Tell me the table's not real. Fine. I don't care. I'm not having that.
Well, it is, I hate to bring her up, it's the Meghan Markle philosophy, isn't it? Never mind the truth, what about my truth? Now, that is an approach to life that I could get very illiberal about. We should ban that. That is crazy, to sanctify people being able to state a clear, demonstrable untruth as the truth on the basis that they want it to be the truth.
Well, she's a right-wing tradwife now.
To say that is valid is nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah, but she's now like a right-wing tradwife. Well, having started off as an unconscious bias big lefty.
Meghan, I don't know what to do. I mean, I spent a lot of time talking about Meghan. I think you know what I'm talking about. She's journalistically, people say, why are you so obsessed with her? I'm not obsessed with her, but in our business, she brings eyes to the table. People are fascinated by her, and I can see why. I mean, she's, in some ways, she sums up everything that is wrong with. Is she Generation Z?
I don't know. Yes, one of she is of a generation.
Yeah,
I don't know which
one of those generations.
One of them.
Well, she sums up everything that's wrong with them. Kind of why don't you go and get a job for a kickoff? Why don't you stop talking crap about, never mind about the truth, let's talk about my truth. Why don't you stop pretending that you're changing the world, you're improving the world, when really you're just on the make, you're trying to be famous. Why don't you stop pretending that you're not in a constant state of massive disappointment because in your naivety, in your American naivety, you thought that marrying a British prince would mean you were marrying a billionaire, and you've discovered, oh my God, not only is he not a billionaire, he's a lot less than that. Why don't you stop pretending that you're not in some kind of financial desperation, hence this blizzard of nonsense on social media. So, she's a huge hypocrite.
That's a celebrity boss.
Pursuing her own interests.
91% watching Heretics clips are not subscribed. Quick favour, hit subscribe. Free, takes 2 seconds, and helps us question everything together.